So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all our beautiful viewers out there. And thank you once again for joining us in another series of intimate conversations. And today's guest, I have Medyhne Lebachen. So, welcome, Medyhne.
It's wonderful to be here. Thank you so much.
Oh, and as you can see with Medyhne, she's a very colourful lady, and this background that she's got up is all of her art, some of her art, which we will be speaking into some of it. We're going to get Medyhne to sort of guide us through a little bit of her work and how she's got to be where she is today as we go into it. So I'll just read your intro. And for those who don't know you, we'll just introduce you a wee bit here. So Medyhne is an Australian artist now focusing on sharing her work, originals, canvases, prints, cards, and products as widely as possible. You can view her website at medyhne.com/. So I'll put all the links up for Medyhne's work and workshops and websites, etc. She's a spiritual teacher and energy healer who ran a small healing centre in country Victoria, Australia. She has led international retreats, is a multi-book author, singer-songwriter, and has had multiple radio shows in Australia and a USA radio show, all focusing on great music, balance, spirituality, and holistic wellness. She also welcomes everyone to join her global Patreon community and has the Arise Humanity channel on YouTube and Soul Family channel on Rumble. Wow, beautiful. Right, Medyhne, the first thing that I sort of asked to start it off, and then it's just a free flow chat, is were you an aware, consciously aware and awake child when you were little? Did that happen then, or did you open into that later on in life? How did it all work for you?
I would say that I wasn't fully consciously aware of my, divine connection when I was a little child. What I was aware of was my connection to nature. So I would do things like, I had animals that I would collect that were stray and I'd bring them home.
Yeah.
I'd smuggle them home in my school bag. My mum would be horrified. Oh, not another one. And so I had a really strong connection to nature. I would sometimes in the morning, we lived in, funnily enough, now it's just total suburbia. But when I was young, there was a suburb in Melbourne, Victoria, called Templestowe. And I incidentally love temples, but that's another story. But anyway, I grew up there and it was just orchards and sort of like nature. And I would just wander off in the morning with my dogs. And then I'd come home, 5, 6 o'clock at night. And that was my,
Yeah.
you know, beautiful opportunity to connect to the elements, in nature. And so that was something that was very profound for me. And as you can see behind, I love animals and nature. It's obvious.
Yeah.
And so that was, I guess, my entree to the divine connection, which later I consciously, after I had my first child, really went into a lot of meditation and spirituality and sort of consciously connecting to a higher source, whatever you want to call that. But wasn't really aware of it when I was young. My parents weren't into anything particularly. My family wasn't, and so I didn't grow up with anything like that around me. And so it was a journey to really become fully, consciously connected to the divine and aware.
Mm. I totally get that. And interesting, like I was going to say, back in our day, which you're way younger than me even, but in that time, our parents didn't really worry about us being out like that all day.
No,
Right?
it was really funny because there's no mobile phones or anything, but I just wander off and then it had no sort of awareness of time whatsoever. I didn't really care. Just
No.
and it didn't matter how far I went or anything. It was just a very liberating, I guess, experience to be able to do that. And we had a lot of like apple orchards, and there were dams around with yabbies and some wooded
Yeah.
forested areas, and I just wander off, and it was great. I just love that.
Me too. That was me. It was me as a kid, and like just spent all my time in nature.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
birds right there talking to me, just about landing on my body. It
yeah,
was just amazing. And the more I could, you just wanted more and more of it. It was just such a free flow life,
yeah.
that it was a great education for us, wasn't it?
It was. And the other thing that I love that I would do, because often when we're told to find our joy as adults, it's about looking back to when we were children, what we did then, to find our joy. And I would do creative projects, like I'd make little out of shoe boxes, little dolls' houses, and get some wood
Right.
and a hammer and nails, and sort of try and put something together. Or I'd get some wool, and I'd spin it and start doing a bit of weaving or something. So a lot of sort of little creative things as well, which I really love to do, which was also a really beautiful memory from my childhood.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was, I think, if we reflect in there and then we come back to today and the gaming thing and how it's preventing a lot of our children to have their own imagination stuff going on, which is our creative. And I just, for me, watching particularly my grandson, who was brought up in that realm of technology and all of that, I would just cry for him to get outside. He didn't even like walking on the grass. Like, he was different in that way, and it was just that he was not going to ever be that kid that was like me when I grew up and like my granddaughter is today. He's learnt it. He's come out of that, and he's more out in the world now than he ever is. But it was quite sad to see that, that he was missing out on so much. I felt that he
Absolutely,
was missing out on so much
absolutely.
by not being
Because
out
as
in
a
nature.
child, that is your connection.
Yeah,
That's your connection to the divine, or something beyond yourself, something higher, something expansive. That is the connection. And I think that there is a word that is relevant today, which is a fear of nature. There's an actual word for that, where
mm,
children and young people are actually scared to go out in nature because it's so unfamiliar. I remember reading a comment by Robert Irwin, the son of Steve Irwin, where he says that nothing in nature scares him. It's the cities, and it's that sort of city life, all that sort of thing to do with that scares him. So it's sort of like what you're
yes.
brought up with and what you're familiar with is what you're going to be more,
Yeah.
sort of comfortable with and feel good about. And then the things that you're not familiar with, so they're not growing up in nature, they become things that they're scared of.
Mm, mm. I was so like that about the city. It was like, oh, I don't want to go anywhere near them. I've got used to it obviously now, but it is that, definitely. And I think more and more people are coming back to nature now. They're realizing that that's actually where they center. What really brings them back to their body and their being is in nature and with nature, and how much it's revitalizing them in this world today.
It's
Mm,
so relative too, Mandy, because like I was living in some really more citified areas like Tweed Heads, and then I went to an island, Russell Island, and the energy was much better because it was more nature oriented. And then I moved to Redcliffe, and there was a suburb of Brisbane. There was more people, so I felt like it wasn't the city like Brisbane. It wasn't that busy, but there was still a lot of people around. But compared to sort of the more city areas, it was more relaxing. You could sleep better. You felt better energetically. And I was thinking, oh, this is really good. This is really light. But then we just 3 weeks ago got a mobile home, and we moved into that. And then we went right out to the actual country, which was all the green rolling hills and all that sort of thing. And we did some free camping. We slept there. And it was really incredible, the difference in the energy from even just Redcliffe, which is a smaller suburb, less people, but oh my God, you just felt so much lighter and you slept so much more deeply.
Yeah.
And you felt a sense of just everything washing off you,
Mm,
all the cares and the worries and the concerns. It's just like a real stress relief, just driving through,
absolutely.
and there's hardly any people, and just all these beautiful rolling hills and trees, and wow, what a difference even to Redcliffe. And Redcliffe to me was pretty good because it wasn't too
Big.
cityfied like the Brisbane city is, because when I go to Brisbane city, oh, it's just bananas. And Brisbane's
Yeah.
not even the busiest city in Australia. You've got Melbourne and Sydney, which are way way worse. So
Yeah.
it's all really very relative to what you're used to, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. But definitely you feel the shedding of all that stuff. I've just moved out to the beach and I've got lots of palm and tree and all of that in my section. It's just beautiful. And I'm just spending so much time just sitting on the porch communing even with my trees and nature and just feeling into it and being it. And just that movement out of the city. I mean, our city's only a little city, but it's still that, and it's got all the towers, if we want to go there, it's got all the stuff.
Wow.
And I'm sleeping so much better. I'm just like, oh
You-
God, I'm enjoying my sleeps. So, so beautiful. So
yeah.
yeah, it makes a big difference. And it helps us in, you know, repairing our body. Like actually the physical really is calling out for this time and this stillness now. And just yeah, nurturing from nature. It's beautiful. So
I will mention I've also been taking this because it could be part of the fact that I'm also feeling this unwinding and relaxing. But there's this product that I've come across. It's a patented hops product, and it's incredible. It actually detoxifies the system, cleanses the system, and it helps you to target unhealthy fats and burn them up. And so I've been taking that too, since pretty much around the time that I moved into the van, or maybe a week or so before that. And so that has also assisted me in also this rejuvenation and a deeper sleep as well. So that's part of it. If anyone's interested, just contact me. I can send you information. But that's totally big pharma, totally natural.
yes. Yeah.
And so things like that can also assist too. So that's part of the process. And I know for me, in this evolution that we're going through, I'm consistently tuning into things that are going to support my evolution and my journey, and also my physical body, because through this transition, particularly when you come to our ages, what's how old I am,
Yeah.
but you've been on the planet a long time, and it's very cumulative, all the stuff that you have to work with. And so we're just really shedding on so many levels, and looking
Oh,
for
for
me
sure.
to assist that in every way that I can. I have a Healy frequency device which I use all the time. Brilliant. I have my the hops new product I've got things like
Yeah.
other things like Azir and stuff that are really great as well. So just really working with every way that I can to support this journey, this really accelerated process that we're going
Oh,
through now.
for sure. And I totally get that. I was just going to say all of what you've just said, basically, but just around different product probably as well, though. I'm
Yeah.
using LifeWave patches and they are
Oh, I
just
use them too.
phenomenal.
They're great.
They're phenomenal. And I know the thing you're talking about, the hops thing, I've been introduced to that as well. And I've been tossing up. I haven't gone there yet, but
Yeah.
it's just this, for me, doing all the cellular work that we've all done over the years, me processing like I have for many years, it's definitely shifted. My whole life is totally, I could say, opposite to what it was.
Yeah.
And, and that's a beautiful thing. But what I also could see, even though I'd done the cellular memory in my injured spot bases within my body, because, I broke a lot of bones, and those spaces got like I improved on doing that over the as I got older. I did a better job of breaking things, and so therefore I ended up in surgeries and platings and screws together and all the things. But the
Mhm.
tissue around one spot in particular has always been still a little tender, and it's been quite a few years. And even with doing the cellular stuff, it's still like the tissue needs work. It needs repair. And it's
Yes,
been taking longer to do that because I'm aging and I've got,
yes.
coming out of that cycle of separation where we go into the death row, coming back into life again. That's what I can feel in me, is life force coming back in a more powerful way.
Or light. Yes,
And the
yes.
disconnection of those patterns and programs we run. So for me, the patches are helping repair the tissue, and it's working in a very, very fast, very quick. So
Yes. Yeah.
I'm thinking that, we do need to actually really support the physical body, however and whatever that means. And I know people balk at, oh, but it's this much, financially. Well, yes, but how much are you spending on supplements or doctors or chiropractors or osteos or whatever it might be.
Well, it's very much about prevention, really, because
Yes.
once you get core issues, it's very hard then to go in often and just really it takes time to shift them. So it's much better to prevent things happening than have to deal with
Totally.
it once it occurs. And I've always been aware of that on some level. Like for 30 years, I have been mindfully working on myself in different ways. And because I knew we were going to come to this time now where it's big crunch
Yeah.
time, and we really need to be at our highest potential. And they do say that ideally you want to be spending about 1/5 of your week on self-care. So 1/5 of the time of your week, which is 20% of your week, on self-care as a minimum, at the
Yeah. Yeah.
and I think that that's very much true. Things like, as well, you've got meditation, walks in nature, grounding energy is super important at the minute. And just doing your joyful activities as well, singing,
Yeah.
dancing, anything creative,
Mm.
the things that make your soul happy, that bring you joy. So, all that is just super important. And it's also the process of stepping out of the matrix, the 3D reality, and realizing that it's not just all about survival and making money to survive. It's actually being able to transition ourselves out of an old system that no longer supports the collective or supports us individually, and all doing our part to step out of that system.
Mm.
Because
Mm.
the more we stay in it, the more we are holding the space for that to continue, and we don't want it to continue. We want to go into a better reality, a better earth, a new golden age. And so to be able to do all those things I mentioned, which are positive, and then to at the same time simultaneously be inching our way as much as we can out of the old systems that have held us into basically enslavement.
Exactly. And man, when you free yourself, like I'm still the biggest freedom for me came when I was not concerned about what other people thought of me. That was the
Yes.
biggest freedom in my life. It was like, man, that just turned me around. And just recently, I have to say, the energetics, we're doing this recording, what is it, 4th of December. And
Mhm.
energetically, we've become so, like you're saying, it's rapid now. We're really shifting and
Right.
changing
It's
stuff.
boom, so
This
fast.
seconds, minutes, it's
Yes.
like your whole thing's different again.
What day is it? I can remember, what day is it today?
Oh my God, I so have to keep checking like times and days because
I
I'm just oblivious to them.
know, it's like crazy.
And when you've got appointments booked, I really have to, like, I'm checking, double checking, because one minute you're looking and you think, yep, and then next minute you walk away, you come back and go, what time was it again? It's just
You know
continual.
what that is too? That's our brains. Their brains
Totally.
are not working in the same way that they used to. And
No.
like you start thinking, oh my God, have I got dementia? What's going on? But but the point is, what's actually happening is our brains are transitioning from a 3D way of functioning, which
Mm.
is to be able to go back into the past and to remember things and all that sort of thing, into the 5th dimensional way of functioning, which is being 100% in the here and now, being in the present
Yes.
moment. And so you don't actually have to be remembering things and doing all that. And so the process of transitioning from one to the other is quite challenging, because you start to really doubt yourself and think, oh my goodness, what's wrong with me? But it is the process of changing the way that we are sort of existing in the world. And
Yeah.
and I can't believe how many things lately I've, forgotten or muddled up or because of this
Yeah.
process. And yeah, it makes it a challenge actually. But
Does.
I'm trying to live in the moment in the mobile home and that way. But you still have to sort of remember things and do things, and there's certain, like you say, appointments and things you've got to remember, which it's
Mm.
very easy to just sort of lose track and forget things, and things that I used to remember so easily, they just
Yeah.
totally escape me. And now I just say, oh, it's a blonde moment.
Yeah, me too. I know. It is so like that. But we, in that process, the higher mind coming in, leaving our human mind really, and that control it had over us, and going into the higher heart chambers rather than that human heart, the or the we always having a
And
human heart.
out of the mind to the heart. Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, and that part there is where I even, like I was saying, we've all done so much work on ourselves and so many things have changed. We're not running the same life that we used to run. Yet I'm seeing in this last month, particularly, really, is that there's a lot of really deep, like it's going right down into the very depth now. And I feel like we're at we say final, but oh my God, next minute there's another 20 things to look at.
That's right.
It's like coming right back to the very beginning of our true creation, in the sense of where we slipped up or where we started moving off from that divine space. And what I'm hearing from many people, and I was in witness of this within myself, is things that I could say, God, I never thought I would have had any of that left, but actually there was more. And I've really been saying to people, sit with yourself and really check in, because we might consider we've done a lot of it, but there's actually this deeper space of it now that's coming to the surface. And it's the I feel like, I want to say, the final threads of those for us to move ourselves more fully into this golden age that we're really walking into now. We have been for a while, but it's like the final spaces. And in that, what I'm hearing is a lot of people saying to me, because I was pondering all this, and then of course people show up that either confirm it, or like, yes, we may be creating all of that too, of course we are, but so a lot of people are still moving through this too, and saying, I never thought I had self-hatred like I can feel I have right now. So
Yeah.
deep-seated self-hatreds, and the saboteur, and all of those things that have been sitting just sort of under here because we've done so much and we're working in a newer space. But hang on a minute, there's one last bit, or there's a next minute moment.
Absolutely, there totally is. And sometimes you just think, oh my gosh, have I done anything at all of myself? Because all
Yeah.
this. But the thing is, I think it's really important to remember that to be an observer is really beneficial here, not to
Yeah.
judge this process or judge ourselves,
No.
or step into the inner critic, or that sort of being that is going to say, oh, there's something wrong with you here. I think to be able to go through those processes of bringing that up and working through it without putting any judgment on it, just doing
Exactly.
work,
Yeah.
and just sending all aspects of our self-love, all the shadow aspect, love, forgiveness, it's been there to protect us, to support us, to help us on the journey. And it's there for benevolent purposes, but even though what it does sometimes is working against us. So just remembering that it's all divinely perfect, and to send the aspect of ourselves always the highest levels of love and
Yes.
unconditional forgiveness. And I think that's a key, because like you say, I totally agree with you, Mandy, that there is so much coming out of the deepest aspects, and that's a good thing, because it means that we're
Yes.
getting closer to really shifting everything that's there. And it means that we are progressing on our pathway to ascension, which is, you know, what we all want to do if you have awareness of the whole journey. And I think it's exciting. It's challenging, it's confronting, it's intimidating, it's a lot of things, but you know, just everyone know that we're all doing it together, and hang in there, because this process is going to be ultimately so liberating. And you know, that's our path for being here on the earth. It's to experience and to evolve as a soul. And
Mm.
and this is the prime opportunity to be able to have the evolution that we so want as a spiritual being.
Yeah, for sure. And to be here, like actually here doing that, like that's
Yeah,
the bit. And you know, when I look at this planet and I look at the beauty in her, you know, and I just, oh my God, I just love it. I really don't want to go. And we used to live for hundreds of years, you know, so I know we're sort of moving back into that space where we're coming back into that space where we actually are not in the death row and of
yeah,
separation. We're
yes.
coming into life here in this form, and that for me, we can exist for hundreds of years if we want to. If
It's
we
funny you mention that, because I remember I was chatting to a lady last night, gorgeous lady, and she says she's about 60. She goes, "Oh, I've probably got another 20 years left in me." And I said, "Well, you know, it might be way more than that, than what you think. You know, when we
yeah,
go through this process, we could be here for thousands of years. We might have the opportunity to stay here eternally if we choose, you know."
yeah,
Um, you know, it's like all limitation can be shifted, because limitation is just programming, you know.
it is absolutely.
So
Mm.
it's funny, because she just directly said that, and I said to her, "No, no, you might be much more than that." Yeah,
Yeah, and it's something I've always known. Like from very young, I said right from a little kid I was going to be here till 92. I'm 66 now, so you know I was counting down as well. It was like oh, you know, matriarch of the family now. I'm getting into that space where you start dropping off, and I'm like, well, I'm not doing that. I don't choose to.
no,
And then in my 92 year, it was like, well, actually, a few years back, I thought, no, I'm going to be here till 150, you know.
fantastic.
And
Absolutely.
now I'm even extending that. It's like, well,
I
yeah,
know.
because we
I
can
think
do
so.
that.
I'll be here beyond 200, I think. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And it's funny too, because I was in a cafe the other day, and there was this eccentric character in there, and I started talking to him, and he said he did, you know, card readings, and he did sort of readings, and he goes, can I give you a quick palm reading? And I said, sure. So so he looked at my palm, and he said, "Oh," he said, "you're not going to die." He said, "You're you're gonna, you know, ascend and continue." And I said, "Oh, that's interesting." So that was his main thing that he told me in the.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
See?
yeah,
And this is like listening to, and now I can't even, I couldn't tell you who it was I was listening to. And this person was saying that there was a lot on the planet that aren't doing what they came here to do. They've got so distracted now with what's going on in the world that they've lost where they're going. And so there was a lot of them that aren't going to come through, or were eventually, or originally were and aren't now. And then which could change at any point. And then there was also a lot that had chosen to stay and have decided not to stay now. So there's a lot less, he was saying, I can't think who it was saying that are actually moving themselves in the direction that we're moving ourselves. So that was sort of, and I can feel that. I can feel that being quite true,
yeah.
actually.
I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised at all. I think it takes work to be able to go on this journey of ascension. I'll give an example, which was that you know, about 4 weeks ago, I was really happy in our house. We were renting in Redcliffe. Everything was going on nicely. I was doing my paintings, happy as a bird. And then we got a strong guidance. And this has happened quite a few times in my life, because I've had a lot of changes. But it was to, you've got to leave the house and go mobile, get rid of all your stuff and just go. It's like, you know, very overwhelming when you get that sort of guidance, because there's so much to do. And, you know, our house was looking beautiful. We had all our stuff in there. It was great. We were really happy. And then we got this guidance, and it took me a few days to wrap my head around it. And I was thinking, oh, wow, so much work. I'm exhausted just thinking about it. But
Yeah.
anyway, I always listen to my guidance. And so after a few days of just trying to integrate it all, I said, okay, we can do this. And I got stuck in, and we started, you know, oh, it was more than 4 weeks ago, because we had to get rid of stuff. But I can't remember now, because again, time is just ephemeral at the minute.
Yeah,
But it was
totally.
maybe 6 weeks ago. I don't know.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago. But anyway, we got this guidance, and then we had to start getting rid of the stuff in our house. And then we had a lot of stuff, so we put it online. But you know, when you step into the flow of the divine, no matter how challenging it is, you get so supported. So for example, we had one fellow come in, and he's in our garage sale, and he goes, I'm going to have all that stuff. So he came and he just put a whole lot of our stuff straight off the bat. And I thought,
Wow.
wow, that's so good. I don't have to sell all that individually. So it's like, you know, you get supported on the path. And if you're in the flow, then you find that it's really good. But if we had stayed in that house, then we would have found more obstacles, more
Yeah.
challenges, more things would have come up. But when we got that guidance, we acted, we responded. And even though it was incredibly challenging to think about at the time, and also I was happy there, so I had to go over the fact that I was content, you know, where I was,
Yeah.
and then move into this new direction. And then this new direction has facilitated some incredible gifts. It has been, I'll be honest, it has been challenging on some levels, because it's a lot to adjust to come from a big house to a small space and things like that.
Yes.
But it has some incredible gifts. Like on the weekend, we were invited to this wonderful 3-day event for my place in Blackbutt, in a little township in Queensland, and there were over 100 people there. And oh my goodness, it was so fabulous. I loved it so much. There was poetry, music, workshops, information, talks. You got to connect with all these wonderful people that are on the same page. I did a meditation one night. I did poetry readings from my book, and I also I played one of my songs. I went to the market one day, so I participated as well. I went to the market and I sold some stuff, and then they asked me to do a talk, and I did a talk on animals and our interconnection with animals. So I did all this stuff too, but it allowed me to sort of be more sort of connected to people, and it was just so beautiful. We loved it so much, and we wouldn't have been able to do that if we hadn't followed the guidance to go into the mobile home. So now we're able to connect with communities like that. There's other events too coming up that where we wouldn't have been able to before without that without the
Right. Yeah.
situation.
Because I was going to say, and the purpose of that obviously is that you're going to be connecting into other groups and things and gatherings and, you
Yeah.
know, free flow, really, I suppose.
Absolutely,
Mm.
absolutely. And there's some other wonderful ones coming up as well. And this one I think is going to be repeated as well. And, you know, so many beautiful connections. The people there were also, there were a lot of truth sharers speaking openly. You know, there was no censorship. You could, you know, it was very warm and sort of an embracing community. And
Mm.
that was so lovely, because that's, I think, ultimately too, what we're going toward as we move into the golden age and this new earth is that connection with our soul family, you know, with our community. And that shift that seemed so hard when I imagined it facilitated our ability to be able to be, you know, connecting more now to our community. And you know,
Yeah.
that is so key as we move forward, to be in unity and community, and not to feel that we have to do it alone, you know, that we're
Yeah.
isolated or that we're disconnected, because so many of the light workers and the healers and the awakened beings have felt such a disconnection from, you know, the people around them for so long. You know, we've often been in families where we're the only one who has been having this sort of consciousness, and we
Yeah.
were dropped in on purpose individually so that we could be in a group with our energy to provide that spark for that group. So, you know, it's all meant to be. It's all perfect, divinely aligned. And I just encourage people to do what they can, you know, to find their communities now as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I feel there's more people like that just connecting up. It's like these magnets are being drawn in, that
Yeah,
just connecting. They're and same page. It's beautiful. It's a lovely feeling because I know I did. Felt like I was bashing my head against brick wall for many years in the earlier years.
totally.
Oh my goodness. And now it's like there's so much support in it. It's beautiful. It's really changed.
It's lovely, isn't it?
It
I
is.
remember when I was at secondary school, it sounds a bit sad, but you know, I found it really hard to connect. I went to a really um, sort of a snobby, really expensive school, and the girls there could be quite. It was an all girls school. They were quite sort of could be quite, you know, sort of negative and things in their energy. And I'd just go into the library and read a book because I just couldn't feel a
Yeah.
connection with others. But now, you know, it's coming in all over the place, and you know, it's really, really lovely because you know we want to connect. It's like an inherent, like primitive need within
Yeah.
ourselves to be able
Yeah.
to connect with others on the same vibration or frequency.
Exactly. And I was just sitting with a lady who I'm seeing now it's like I'm over just doing it all myself. I've been marketing myself for years and years and years, and I just want to, do more, but I just don't want to do it all myself. And I was speaking with this lady, and the next minute, wow, I couldn't speak. I had the tears come up, and it was that I've done this all on my own, and now I don't want to anymore. And I said, "Oh wow, that was a poor me moment." She said, "Not at all." She said that was a really powerful aha moment. That realization, and that's so where we're all at. I feel we've really it's really great. All the tribes coming together and meeting beautiful people like yourself now, and so many more. It's just lovely.
It is beautiful, yes.
So
And
that.
well, if you know if there's any way that I can support you on your journey, just let me know. We can support one another in any way that we can. And
Beautiful. Thank you.
yeah,
Yeah. I'm
pleasure.
looking at coming into Australia and doing a few more bits and pieces over there. I have it certain just very quietly, but I really want to get some impact going on. And yeah, so I'll be in touch, but be lovely to meet up in person at some point too.
That would be
So
beautiful.
so getting on to your art and who you are in that, and singer-songwriter, all that. Tell me all about that side of you. It's like there's so much to you,
Thanks.
which is exciting and gorgeous.
Oh, thank you. Well, I've just always been really, really creative. I think it's the fairy in me because you know fairies are very creative. I've been told I'm a bit of a fairy, like my picture up above here. Oh,
Yeah, I know. I love that. I
it's a
was
little
looking at
fairy
that.
there.
Yeah.
And so I actually have a funny story about that because that fairy, I painted it with the reindeer, and then a short time afterwards, I was out in a park, and I met this girl, and she looked exactly like that fairy in the painting. And I spoke to her, and she goes, "Yeah, I'm a fairy." And we talked and talked, and I thought, this is the subject of my painting. So I painted her before I met her, and then
Yes.
you know she totally looked exactly the same. I did an interview with her, and she was in front of the painting. It just looked like they're two little twinnies. And then she said to me, which was the clincher, she said to me, "I love reindeers." And she loves reindeers, and she had a giant
Wow.
painting of a reindeer in her house, in her bedroom, and she had little reindeers as well. And so apparently fairies and reindeers have a wonderful connection, and that
Oh,
she was actually the subject of that painting. And I met her afterwards. It's fascinating. And when I met her, like she's got these giant blue eyes, and the hair's got pink and yellow in it, exactly the same as the painting. She had a purple dress on, just like the in the painting, and
wow. That's
unbelievable.
fantastic. I love how that works.
Yeah, yeah. But I forget what you originally asked me now, but that was just so fascinating. But oh yeah, no, what creative things. So I well, I guess I've always liked to write. So I've been a published author. I've had about 7 books now that I've written, and I
Are they, sorry, just to interrupt, are they children's books with illustration like you've got the, like, that, they for me are just such beautiful children's illustrations. Do you do that or no?
well, I have illustrated one of my books, a goddess book that I wrote, which is more like sort of affirmations and things like that. That has goddesses in it that I illustrated. I haven't specifically illustrated a children's book, although it is probably going to happen. But I had 2 incredible other illustrators illustrate my 2 children's books. One's called Tale of the Crown, about how a journey to self-worth for a child, and also the other one is Melody Moppett's Marvelous Moods, and it's how teaching children how to express all the emotions, or to be able to honor, and recognize, all the emotions. And so they're
Oh,
my
cool.
children's books, and the most incredible illustrations from other illustrators. And then my Hilarious Poems book, which is multi-leveled meanings for adults and children, that's illustrated by one of Australia's top illustrators, Mark Payne, who I was very honoured to have him want to illustrate my book. And so that they're just a few of them. But yeah, and I've
What's
also
the last one's name? Sorry.
Hilarious Poems. It's a pun on hilarious. So there's a character called Hilarious. I went around schools and I read it to quite a few schools and things, and I had one teacher tell me off. She said, "You should have been using," because
Love
she was
it. Oh, that's so good.
she was a bit horrified. But kids love it when you talk about bums.
Oh, totally they do. Oh my gosh, yes.
So
Absolutely.
so that's my books. And then I've also been a singer-songwriter. I've sung since I was really, really young. And I've written a lot of songs, and I've toured with the songs around Victoria, in healing centres and places like that, and homes and healing centres. And I love singing, but I haven't done a lot recently, so my voice is a little bit out of practice, but I'm focusing, as I said, more on the art now. I've also had radio shows. I had one in Castlemaine, Victoria, one in Berwick, KC Radio, Cranbourne Way, KC Radio, and I've also had an overseas radio show for a year with Healthy Life Network, which went to actually the network went to about 5 million people globally, but it's more now. And so that was really fun to do. And I've also, what else? Other bits and pieces. I've said energy healing, spiritual teaching. I've run retreats, like a retreat in Bali for women with another a really actually a well-known social media identity in America, Black woman called Abiola Abrams. We ran it together, and yeah, lots of things. So
Oh, yes.
yeah.
Yeah, busy. And so, you know, being in your motorhome, of course, you're only new and you're getting, yourself sorted in there. But how will your art come about in there? Will you be able to keep going and do that?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I already actually did a painting just the other day when I was in here, and maybe I'll share a few of my pieces in a minute.
Yes. Yeah.
But it is a smaller space, so it's much easier, obviously, to do smaller things. But I do have a big portable table, and I do have some big canvases that I love to do. I find that the bigger the canvas you do, more you can express, more you can put on it. So we'll be doing them as well. And murals, things like that. I have potentially got a project of a mural coming up in country Victoria. And so, yeah, and I'm also looking for suppliers, that have shops or things where they can, or multiple, suppliers where I can put my canvases, prints or products out. I've got cards, things like mugs, coasters, and to with some of the designs on there, I'm looking to also facilitate that, and I'm in talks with a few people, and also licensing agents, who license your artwork out. I've got a few things there on the boil, so
Oh,
that's
good.
yeah, thank you. So I'm just that's my focus at the minute, because it's my greatest passion. So I think it's good to do the greatest passion which comes,
Absolutely.
and that's it. And so I can still do it, while I'm in the mobile home, a little bit more confined area, but I can still definitely do it, which will be fun. So
Yeah,
perhaps shall I share a couple of the
absolutely. Is
I
it?
think
Can you share?
yes. So this one here is just a few off the top of my head. This one's called Catatonic. I love cats. And
Oh, we do too.
so,
Yeah, I like that.
thank you. And I called it cat tonic instead of, catatonic. Cat tonic. I got a bit
Yes.
of humor in there. So I don't know what it is, but I find it really, really easy to draw cats. So I've obviously got a soul affinity. This one here, and this sort of shows the size of some of the work as well, is a galactic goddess. And she came to me and I painted her, and she's got like roses around her, so she's got some nature around her. And
Yeah.
she that's really big, and the colors are really sort of vibrant on that one.
Yeah, for sure. Beautiful.
Thank you. And then I've got a huge commission that I did for, I have an art collector in the UK, actually a couple, but I've got one that has been really collecting my work, which is really beautiful. And so this is one that I did for him. And it actually turned out, I didn't know, but it turned out that the colors and the subjects were very meaningful for him in specific ways
Wow. Yeah.
that I didn't know about, and it just blew me away. And that often happens with my paintings. So that was, and you can see how big it is too, because my
I
head.
know, that's lovely. Yeah.
Thank you. So that took, I think, about 6 weeks. It took quite a while to paint. And then I've got one here that is again, it was a commission of a mermaid and a merman. And I have 3 categories in my artwork. So I've got animal whimsy, I've got mystical and magical, and I've got radiant designs. So you can see behind me, there's like a fireworks design here. So different sort of designs. But this one is one of the mystical, magical ones. And it's my mermaid and merman there. And again, it's quite big. You can see.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. So I do paint what people, like people say, I want you to paint blah blah blah, and then I'll paint that. Another one was a happy whale. People asked me to paint, and so I did that. And so I've had a few sort of specific requests for things, and yeah, just different topics as guided, as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, if anyone wants their own personalized painting. And I would just share one last one, which was interesting because this lady, she wanted me to do a soul painting for her. I also can sometimes call them soul paintings. And this soul painting was just, she didn't tell me any information about herself, but it had in it, the subjects were very meaningful for her when I sent it to her. So the subjects were, she had 2 sisters and she's one sister and she has another sister, and then she has a brother. So there were 2 sisters and a brother in her family. So that was meaningful. And then she has 2 daughters and a son. And
Oh,
the 2 girls and the male were very significant for her for that reason. And there was, that heart sort of binding them together and
yeah.
sort of thing. And she says that when she sees that painting, it helps her sort of connect again and in that sort of love vibration with these loved members of her family. And also that country scene for her is her peaceful space. And then in the water, it is
Yeah.
symbolic of our emotions. So it's like she's standing in the water, which is centering herself in her emotional body. And she says that every time she looks at it, it just raises her frequency. So it has a special meaning also for her.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Wow. I love, yeah, I love how colourful you make them. You know,
Oh, thank you. That is the world that I live in. It's the
yeah,
color, so much color. I can't wait to actually go to 5D where there's going to be such a range more of colors than what we have here. There's going to be pearlescent colors and iridescent colors, and it's just going to be so beautiful. Look at quite a few people have mentioned they think that also the sky will be purple, when we go into a new fifth dimensional reality.
I was saying this the other day. I used to have, there was a lady here and lived in New Zealand, Auckland, and she channeled Abraham, the biblical Abraham.
Yeah.
And Abraham, they put transcripts together. So she had 3 or 4 books that were these transcribed channels from him. And I had a few of them. I have no idea where they've gone now. I think I lent them to somebody and they haven't come back. And that I'm, sort of willing that to come back in. It's probably gone now, but anyway. But in there, Abraham said he was talking about this all this time that was, coming and that we're in now. And he was saying in there that we will know when we've come into the new world because the colors in the sky will let us know. And
Yeah.
already we're getting auroras that are different colors to what they've usually had. All sorts of, and everyone's going, oh yeah, that's all the chemtrail stuff and all the chemicals that are showing up, and that's why that color and blah blah blah. But I always remembered what Abraham has said about the skies, and even in our sunsets now, we are getting the purples and the different colors coming in, and I've just really always felt that was why, because we have moved frequency. It's not about the chemicals. It's not all that.
No, no, I agree. And I think the aurora borealis, which of course was only seen in a certain place, before, has come to so many parts of the
Yeah,
world now. And that's exactly what you're talking about. I think there's also actually, interestingly, in the last few days, been some phenomenal UFO
yeah,
sightings on the airport in America, and then somewhere else there was another one over Texas, I think it was. So there's all that happening, and then there's all these colors, and it's just
yeah,
such a
happening.
mind shift, with
Yeah,
way that we used to think, and that is what you're saying, that the people that are ready to expand their thinking and step out of their old paradigms and ways of being, they're the ones that are going to be able to move forward in this ascension. Because if you're too stuck in old programming and old belief systems, it's going to be very challenging to be able to
yeah,
exist in the new realities.
yeah, for sure. It's definitely like that. But oh, what a beautiful time, really,
Yeah,
eh? Like
pretty
actually.
amazing. It's pretty amazing.
It is amazing. It really is. And seeing all what, we might term as the glitches in the matrix, things that are just crazy, like crazy stuff. And that just, again, it's that I just love it. I think, yeah, bring it on, whatever.
Totally.
It's very
Absolutely.
entertaining.
Yeah. It sure is. Just be open to it all. That's it.
Yeah.
Have no attachment to or expectation, in a sense, to what we want to happen or to have certain outcomes.
Yeah.
Even that thing of waiting, oh, when are we going to shift into the new currency, the new rainbow currency and the, quantum system, just releasing attachment to that, because I think sometimes when you hold on to that, it actually blocks it from coming in sooner.
I think so too. And I'm seeing a lot doing that, totally holding on to it. And the
Yes.
event, the big solar flare that's going to shift us through. Well, yes, but until it happens, if so, which I'm sure it will at some point, because we're creating that to be, because it's a story that we're saying and we're talking about, and we're going to create that into being. So it is coming, but it's that we're already in that, we're actually
Yes.
already in it.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
just keep
Yeah.
doing what you need to do for self. Mm.
Totally.
Yeah.
been so wonderful to chat with you, Mandy. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, welcome. It's absolute pleasure and such a joy. And again, I love the color and your vibrancy and your zest for life as well, and totally that following your inner guidance and knowings and all of that. It does create the best life that we can be in as well, and it's just trusting all that when we get those sorts of guidances. I don't know how I would go being in a motorhome. I know I love it for now, for a moment, but I really love having a base where I can just settle and be and feel, I don't know, my own space and not
I
move.
think I think it's part of, well, I hear you. I totally hear you, because it is a bit confining. There you do have to adjust. There's also, I think, the soul mission. I think at a higher level where I'm doing grid work. I'm working with ley lines, and my energy is also, and my partners is doing that work, and we've already agreed to do that before we came in, so that
Yes.
that's part of it too. So there's a higher mission with that. So sometimes the challenges, you just have to know that there's a higher reason as well. But there's a lot of really fabulous things too. It's like with anything, particularly in 3D, you've got the polarity, the positives and the negatives of every experience.
Exactly. And it's always how we see it, isn't it?
Yeah,
As to how bad it can be.
yeah,
Exactly that.
totally.
Yeah. No, beautiful. Thank you so much for coming in and saying yes. And yes, let's just, always keep in touch, of course, and much, much love to you and your family and all of that. And have a wonderful holiday and time out in your camper van, because
Oh,
it'll feel like a holiday for a while, won't it?
yeah, I think so. I think so.
Yeah.
And look, it gives you a lot of opportunities, a lot of connection with nature, a lot
Mm.
of more interaction with people too, because you talk to people more on your journey, which is really
Oh,
fun.
yeah. Yeah. And you
Yeah,
wouldn't,
my partner half the time he's missing. Where is he gone? He's out chatting to someone else.
yeah. Because there's not all the other jobs that you would have been doing
Yeah,
stuck at home to
yeah,
get
that's true.
done that we, concern ourselves over.
So
You've got more free time now, probably. All
that's
that sort
no
of,
more lawn mowing. That's it.
yeah, all that washing of the whole house windows and all the stuff that takes up all their time.
It's
For
true.
sure. No, gorgeous. Love it. And love you very much and all the very best.
Oh, thank you, Mandy. It's been a joy. Thank you. Thank you.